today?
No.
Okay. We had a bird, and the bird put this egg in our bird feeder. It's got a crack in it, so it was never going to become a bird. So the bird just left the egg on my back porch. But it's never going to develop into an egg. As we go forward, I think you saw in your answers, if there's ever a question you can't find the answer to, look at the numbers I have, and that'll tell you the page that the answer is on, okay? So then that's why I put those numbers there, to help you if you need to, okay? Okay, and first of all, I want to tell you about a monkey bridge. Have you ever been to Dalat?
Yes.
Okay, outside of Dalat, there's a place, a real pretty place where you can go and see a lot of beautiful things, and there's a monkey bridge over the water, but they have ropes. So when you walk on the bridge, you can hold on to the rope to help you. So I got to walk across a monkey bridge, but I didn't just walk across the stick. I had to hold on when I did it. So it was fun. So we'll go over your questions. Do you know what a monkey bridge is, and have you ever been on one?
A monkey bridge is a single bamboo stick that spans the trench. No, I haven't been on one because all monkey bridge in village have changed into bridge.
Right. And that's safer and better, isn't it? It's easier to walk across the bridge. What did they plant during the 6-month rainy season?
During the 6-month rainy seasons, they planted fields of rice, sweet potatoes, Indian mustard, eggplant, tomatoes, hot peppers, and corn.
Okay, you can tell me now, which of these foods do you like?
I like sweet potatoes and corn.
Very good. You don't like tomatoes?
No, I don't like it.
When I was younger, I didn't like tomatoes, but as you get older, your taste buds change, and now I like tomatoes. Okay, number 3. When did the author make his first trip to the jungle? Who did he go with, and how did they know which foods they could eat and which ones were poisonous?
When the author was 12 years old, he made his first trip to the jungle. He went with his father and they knew which foods they can eat and which ones were poisonous by seeing the animals if they had eaten foods.
Good. Number 4, since the author did not go to school, how did he learn? Would you like to learn that way?
He learned by going to the lowlands to study for a while. No, I wouldn't because this way can help me learn all the knowledge which I can study at my school, and also this way can help me improve my skill in life.
Very good. Okay, number 5. How did the family know what kind of water buffalo they needed to have? What did they name their water buffalo? And why did they give him that name?
The family know what kind of water buffalo they needed to have because they wanted one that was hard worker and a good fighter. They named him Tank because when he hit another buffalo in a fight, he struck as heavily as a tank.
Yes. Okay, and the last question. Why did the author's cousin live with his family? Was the cousin older or younger than Huynh? What animal did the cousin catch and tame?
The author's cousin lived with his family because his aunt died during Arthur's cousin's birth, and Arthur's uncle was killed while hunting a wild dog. The cousin is 10 years older than him.
Okay, and he caught a live python and tamed it, a snake. Do you like snakes?
Actually, no.
No, I don't either. So I would not want to catch one and tame it. Okay, let's read The Lone Wild Hog.
Sorry.
Let's read the chapter The Lone Wild Hog.
I think it will be my cousins.
No, it's on page 19. After my cousin.
Okay. The wild hogs living in the jungle near our hamlet were a constant problem because they sometimes attacked people or cattle without provocation. As the guardian of all the buffaloes in our hamlet, Tang once had to fight a huge wild hog when the herd was grazing at the edge of the jungle. He defeated the hog, but the victory was not an easy one. A fully grown male hog can weigh almost 300 kilos, and its skin is covered by a thick coating of the sap from a tree. We call it the oil tree. A combination of instinct and parasitic itch causes a hog to rub the sap up against the oil tree, which are sap when its bark is
Oozes.
broken.
Oozes. That means it
Oozes.
runs.
Which oozes sap when its bark is broken. The sap, when condensed and dry, becomes an extremely tough covering that acts like armor, making the wild hogs immune to wild from sharp knives or bullet from small guns. The older the hog, the thicker its armor. The only part of the wild hog's body that is not covered by this special sap is its throat and most of its neck. For dry sap would hinder its movement when it wanted to bend its head to drink or to eat fruit. This is why the wild hog always rubs away any sap that drops on its neck or its throat. The head of wild hog is its most powerful weapon. When a wild hog shot, it may knock down its opponent, but that usually does little damage. It is the follow-up slap of its head that is lethal. The,
Lethal. Lethal.
the tusk of wild hog crow in such a way that the sideways slap of its head can rip away the abdomen of a pursuing hunting dog and
Pursuing. It means
pursue
coming after him. Pursuing.
a pursuing hunting dog, and even thought the tips of an old hog tusk will tend to curve in towards its head when an old wild hog is concerned. It will break up curve back of its tusk by smashing them against a tree so that the sharp tips will point outward. Wild hogs live in groups and each group has a leader or dominant male. Usually, wild hogs try to avoid people, fighting back only when cornered. But every once in a while there will be a lone male that either is not strong enough to challenge the dominant male of the herd and prefers to live alone, or has been a dominant male of a large group itself, but because of old age has been beaten by an upcoming young male and has had to leave its harem. And it is the lone wild hog that is the most ferocious animal of the jungle. Even a tiger avoids a long life or hog unless it is very hungry, for it will attack every animal or person in sight. One day, a young farmer from our hamlet was working on a campfire near the edge of the jungle. He had his little lover and his watchdog with him. His doctor was playing with the dog when suddenly the dog stopped playing and became very nervous. The farmer looked around. He saw a huge wild hog tracking down the hill. There was no place in the field big enough for both the farmer and his daughter to hide, so the farmer picked her up and put her in a small clump of elephant grass. He quickly ran away from the place where he had hidden her, hoping the wild hog would follow him and leave his daughter alone. As he ran, the farmer yelled as loud as he could for help, while his brainwashed dog tried to defend him from the wild hog. The dog was strong, but it was no match for angry hog. In a few seconds it did lay dead on the ground, its chest and its abdomen torn open. The farmer continued to run toward a tree, but the tree was too far away and the wild hog overtook him and knocked him to the ground and broke his shoulders and neck with powerful slaps of his head. Four other farmers working in the field nearby rushed over to help their friend, but it was already too late. The wild hog left the dead farmer and tried to the newcomers. They jumped into a deep ditch and tried to hide. By chance, one one of them carried without the horn he used to gather his herd of buffalo. He blew three blasts on his horn and alerted our hamlet to the danger. Immediately, the whole hamlet was on its feet. Sound of hunting horns summoning hunting dogs were heard from one end of the hamlet to the other. Meanwhile, the man in the ditch kept blowing his horn to let us know exactly where they are. When the wild hog could not figure out a way to come down into the ditch to attack the men, it stormed around the edge, snorting at them menacingly. As the barks and howls of hunting dogs became louder and louder, the wild hog gave up and ran back to the jungle. But the dog saw the wild hog, and the lead dog immediately ran after it. The village rescue party, including my father and my cousins, whose own father had been killed by a wild hog, pulled the four men out of the ditch. Everyone became very angry when they saw the mangled body of the dead farmer in the field. They found his frightened little daughter hiding in the elephant grass, but they decided not to let the girl see the body of her brother. Instead, they told her that her father would be okay after a few days of treatment in the hospital. Then someone took the little girl to the neighbor's house. Judging from the barking of the leader of the hunting dogs, the hawk was now far away. It would take a long time for the villager to catch up with it, and then a very long and hard fight to kill it. Nevertheless, even though it was late in the afternoon, they immediately organized the hunt. First, they called in the most of their hunting dogs, except for the leader and two hounds. The men did not want to try all the dogs at the same time and thereby maybe lose track of the hawk. There was some of the dead farmer's blood on the tusk of the hawk, so even if the lead dog were killed, the two bloodhounds would be able to follow the hawk's trail.
Okay, I'll read for a little while now, okay, and you follow. Next, they sent four men to carry the body of their friend home. Then all the rest, armed with knives, quickly moved toward the noise made by the barking lead dog. The knives they carried were special. Each knife had a long, sturdy handle that ended in a wooden crescent that fit over the hip, and a blade with two sharp edges and a pointed tip designed to penetrate the hog's throat as far as possible. When a wild hog attacks the hunter, he can hold his knife crescent handled against his hip and try to stand up to the charge, or he can sidestep the charge and let the animal come close enough to him to try and slap him with its head. A skillful hunter will let the animal pierce its own throat by slapping it against a well-placed knife. It was midnight when the men caught up with the hog. They could hear that the dogs had it cornered. It could not run any farther because a steep cliff blocked its way. The men cut down trees and blocked the only path leading to the hog. Then they let loose 10 fresh dogs and called off the lead dog and the 2 bloodhounds. The fresh dogs harassed the hog for the rest of the night and kept it at bay, tiring it out for the attack at dawn. The men knew they would lose a few dogs, but they had no choice. If they did not let the dogs attack the hog, it might sneak out of their trap, or even if it did not, fighting a fresh wild hog in the morning would be just as dangerous as fighting a tired hog in the dark. The night seemed endless. The pandemonium of barking dogs and snorting wild hog kept everyone awake. Once in a while, the painful howling of a wounded dog made them sit up with a start and wonder which dog had just been hurt, how many were already dead. The men loved their dogs very much, but they would not hesitate to send in more if the first 10 had been killed. All the rest of the dogs seemed to share the anxiety. They lay side by side now without any quarrels. Sometimes one licked the nose of another to show that it was friendly. Normally, they never got along with each other. By dawn, 4 dogs were dead and a 5th was dying. It had a ghastly wound in its stomach, and still it refused to let go of the tail of the angered hog. The other 5 dogs relentlessly continued to attack. The hog had a stone wall behind it. Its mouth foamed and its tusks were broken in half. It had prepared itself to fight to the death. The men let loose all their dogs and then formed 2 half circles, blocking the hog's escape. They let the dogs harass the hog for a while longer and lost a few more dogs. One dog had its 2 hind legs torn away, but it still tried to crawl forward to bite the hog. Then, without warning, the hog stopped fighting the dogs and charged the front line of men. The man closest to the hog was lifted off the ground, thrown on his back, and knocked unconscious. The men on either side of him quickly positioned their knife. The hog ignored the unconscious man and slapped its head at one of the other men instead, cutting itself near its ear on its knife. It was a very deep wound, but not a fatal one. The hurt animal ran back to the stone wall, where it was immediately surrounded again by the dogs. The second line of men quickly replaced the first line, and the unconscious man was carried to safety. He had a broken leg and a bruised hip, but his condition was not critical. Meanwhile, the hog, looking very tired now, knelt down and no longer seemed to be bothered by the dogs. The men called off all the dogs and prepared for the final assault. 2 of them slowly approached the hog from either side of its head. The hog got up on its feet again and moved backwards. Then suddenly it charged the man on the right. He jumped aside, but instead of turning, the hog continued its charge and crashed into the front line of men. The 2 men behind the hog threw away their knives and grabbed its tail and tried to slow it down. The hog quickly turned, but in doing so, it slapped into the knife of a man from the first line. It tried to shake off the knife, but the more it tried, the deeper the knife cut into its throat. Finally, it succumbed to the fatal wound. The hunters ignored the dead hog. Instead, some tried to comfort their wounded dogs while others stared at their dead ones. One of my father's 3 dogs had had its chest torn open and died shortly after the fight. His 2 other dogs stayed next to it and growled at everyone who came close to their dead friend except my father and my cousin. The men broke into two groups. Some gave first aid to the wounded dogs, whilst the others cut bamboo trees and vines, built makeshift stretchers to carry the wounded men, the hog, and the wounded and the dead dogs home. The village chief called a young man to his side and told him to signal on his buffalo horn that the hunting party was safe. The young man blew one long blast followed by one short one and then repeated the signal several times, hoping a favorable wind would carry the happy message home to the hamlet. When everything was ready, the village chief gave the signal to start the journey home. The blasts on the horn were repeated until the party came in sight of our hamlet. The hunters heard children shouting their names and welcoming them home, and the women ran forward to help the men carry their wounded or dead dogs. We all gathered at the village chief's home, where the wounded men and dogs were given further treatment and where a big feast of hog meat was prepared. Everyone, including the dogs, had some meat, but the heart of the hog was saved. We placed it on the altar of the young farmer killed in the field. Then we hung the hog's broken tusks in front of his tomb as a reminder to all of us of the constant danger we faced from a lone wild hog. I would not like to fight a wild hog, would you?
Sorry?
I said, I would not like to fight a wild hog, would you?
No, I
No,
won't.
no. We still have some places in our country where they have wild hogs, and they're very, very dangerous. Okay, so you can read the next two chapters, Mr. Short and River Creatures, and I will send you the questions for those and the next paper to do, and you have a good week. Are you preparing for your semester exams?
Yes, I'm preparing and I have to study a lot.
But you will be happy when they are over, won't you? When they are finished,
On May.
and then you will be happy, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, well, you have a good week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Okay, and see you on the next Wednesday.
Okay, bye.